Eli here, and we're doing something a little different. I'm just going to read through this balanced patch note list and see what they're doing. No cuts, no edits, no outline, which is unusual for me. I'm usually trying to outline my videos, but I wanted to just go through this with you and have a honest reaction and read through and try to understand what's happening here. So, let's do it. Here we go. Okay. We're focused on hand-cast spell builds and hit-focused bow builds. So these aren't the full patch notes, this is just the game balance philosophy. Alright, so player balance, hit-based spellcasting. The problem is that most hit-based spellcasting builds deal too little damage and have too few defensive and mobility options when compared to traps, totems, mines, triggered skills, and DOTs. Yeah, that's pretty fair. Adjust the hit damage growth of most spells. The majority of spells gain around 45% more damage at gem level 20, resulting in up to 60% more damage by gem level 25. Wow. Some spells have received smaller. These less affected spells are generally those that provide mobility and extra damage. Allow casters to obtain more cast speed through the Runic Dagger mod pool. Okay, increase cast speed values, give rings and amulets additional tiers of cast speed modifiers. That's pretty good, because cast speed is pretty hard to stack. Pretty hard. Orb of Storms, more damage, and a mechanical redesign to supplement it as a supplemental lightning skill. I mean, okay, it's already pretty great, but okay. Give Flame Blast, Lightning Tendrils, and Ice Spear some improvements to make them great skills for dealing high damage against a single target. Aren't they already pretty good? The problem is that they have to stand still, which in this game is death. Improve many skills that rely heavily on unique threshold jewels. Okay. Like Freezing Pulse, Frostbolt, Heavy Strike Cleave, yep. The result of these changes means that their damage has been increased on top of the damage multiplier noted above. Okay. Lower the power of the Unleash support, because the single most impactful support for the kind of build that benefits from the aforementioned buffs. It creates limited options for these builds by feeling like the only option. Okay. With these builds otherwise being buffed, there should be more build options available than before. Lower the power of the Unleash support. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to buff all these other spells by 45% more damage at level 20, and then 6% more at 25, I mean, yeah, Unleash would be kind of out of control. Lower the damage from totem, trap, mine, and trigger effects to balance out the buff to these spells. The intention is that generally these builds should deal the same damage at high levels as they did previously. While at face value these changes will look like nerfs, for the most part they shouldn't be due to the buffs to spells. Okay, so totems, traps, mines, trigger effects are going to have higher, less multipliers. Okay, probably. There'll be a small number of builds that will be negatively affected by these changes. Additionally, because we've adjusted some support gems that multiply the number of traps thrown, we've provided some compensation for this on non-cooldown trap skills like Fire Trap and Lightning Trap. Lower the damage of player Ignite by 28% to partially offset the damage increase that many Ignite applying spells have received. Okay. They super buffed Ignite last league, and now they have to tone it down a little bit because all these spells like Fireball and stuff, Burning Arrow, etc. are going to get a massive damage boost, which in turn would increase the Ignite damage. Okay. For the majority of high-level spell gems, this is a slight damage buff when combined with the above changes. Burning Arrow, Armageddon Brand, Explosive Arrow, etc. have received changes to compensate for the lower damage of Ignite attack skills, and a small number of spells that are not typically aligned with Ignites will have weaker Ignites as a result of this change. We plan to introduce a mechanic for Ignite damage with melee attack skills to give some unconventional Ignite builds a new option. So they're going to make it more like Fortify, where the harder you hit, the more Ignite damage you do. Specifics. We're not going through all of this. Absolutely not. But we are going to just kind of check some things here. Let's take a look at Arc. Previously 133 to 754, now 198 to 1122, and 120% increased effectiveness of added damage instead of 80. Okay, let's check Firestorm, which is objectively bad. 361 to 541. It's pretty good instead of 375 max. And a little boost to the effectiveness of added damage. Flame Surge, the bastard son of fire builds. Everybody wants to like you, but they don't. 1247 top end. Wow. So like 50%. That's wild. And 190% effectiveness. And let's look at Fireball. How about this? Plus Fireball. Interesting. Little typo. So 1640 to 2460 instead of, oh my god. Fireball deals so much damage. Now has 370% effectiveness instead of 240. What the hell? That's insane. That is an insane base damage value. Holy shit. Wow. Okay. Flame Blast looks like another 50%. 165 instead of 130. Oh, 165 more spell damage for each stage. Okay. Now has 90% instead of 60. Okay, wow. Wow. My god. The effectiveness of increased added damage for these spells is really wild. Let's take a look. These changes have been made to supports and other effects that deal damage. Supported skills. Wow, okay. So previously 46% less damage, now 63%. So these like triggered skills are getting, like I said, they're getting a larger, less damage multiplier. Except cast on crit. Supported skills now, oh wait. Yeah, 19% less instead of 20% more, and 10% less at level 20, and previously 29% more. Okay, so yeah, so that's a pretty significant lowering of triggered skills. Multiple traps, 52% less instead of 31, but the spells are getting massive damage increases. I'm not skilled enough at math to know where this falls out, but I'm just going to take their word for it that these numbers make sense, even though it looks like, oh my god, Arcanus brand is now useless, 63% less damage. Maybe. I mean, they're getting huge damage boosts. Huge. Which is great. Which is really, I think, really good. Because if you're going to go self-cast, and they're giving us the ability to stack cast speed, this in turn lets us deal damage, which is great, and move out of the way, which is also great, because we won't be stuck in animation. We'll actually be able to get our spell off, even though we cancel our animation by moving most of the time. So we can actually cast stuff. Okay, I like this so far. Here are some buffs that have made to dedicated totem and trap skills, and some attacks that are designed for ignite damage, blah, blah, blah. All right. Holy Flame Totem got buffed. Okay. Nothing about... Let's just look for Consecrated Path. Nothing. Okay, great. So our build starter, or our league starter is fine. Unleash changes. This should be interesting. Supported skills now deal 50% less damage when reoccurring at level 1, 41% less damage at 20 instead of 21. So 21% increase less damage. Wow. Unleash got hit. But again, huge buffs to the base numbers. So, if they're getting like 50% more damage on their top end, and on top of that, 30 or 130% increased added effectiveness of added damage, then losing 20% of that can't possibly be that bad, right? It seems like the buffs far outweigh the nerfs. Cast speed modifier changes. So on one-handed, the max is 29 to 32 instead of 23 to 25. That's a nice buff. On two-handed, 44 to 49 instead of 38. So 49 to 38, so 11% more. Okay, or increased. There are now 3 tiers of increased cast speed for rings. The highest tier is 13 to 16%. That's, yeah, previously you could only get 5 to 7% on a ring. 13 to 16% cast speed on rings, that's awesome. And for amulets, the highest tier is 17 to 20%. Oh, that's sexy. It is. And you get better crafted bench versions. And the veiled modifiers, okay. That grants cast speed and arcane surge was 15 to 18. Now it's 18 to 22. Okay, that's pretty good. Deafening essence gives, well, what's the, hang on. So it's 29 to 32 is the normal one. Okay, so deafening essence gives tier 1. Nice. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, feeling good so far. Feeling good so far. Let's take a look. No more unique threshold jewels instead of a rare jewel. Okay, that's a little better. No longer obtain, blah, blah, blah. No longer has, or only to enable firing spark projectiles in a circle. Okay. Ethereal knives in a circle. Okay. Freezing pulse. Wait, is this... Why do we have damage values here? Do we have freezing pulse up here? I guess not. Okay. So freezing pulse got a massive damage increase. Whew. Spark. Let's look at you, Spark, huh? Massive. 4 projectiles up to 7, previously 6. And a big added, wow, damn. Okay. 49% damage, double damage on heavy strike. Heavy strike meta what? Hell yeah, heavy strike. Viper strike. Viper strike could be good. There's some builds for it. Didn't really change much. Ethereal knives. Big damage buff. Okay, well, anyway. So let's take a look. Orb of Storms, this should be interesting. Orb of Storms has been redesigned as a single target tool for lightning casters, or I'm guessing casters in general. Focus has been placed on the mechanic of hitting enemies when you cast a lightning skill in its area. Orb of Storms now deals a chunk more damage, like 40% more, and strikes every 3.5 seconds. Now strikes every 3.5 seconds instead of 1.5. No, 2.55 instead of 1.02. Beams now split towards 3 additional targets instead of 4. Has Orb of Storms no longer requires splitting from the caster when they cast a lightning spell in its area. Instead, it will zap an enemy in range every time you cast a lightning spell from within the storm's area. Okay, so increased AoE on Orb of Storms is mandatory. Ignite compensation changes. Let's see. I'm not super terribly interested in this myself, but for the sake of everyone else, Burning Arrow. 300% of base attack damage instead of 214, and 50% or 70 or 86% additional damage effectiveness, lowered attack speed, and costs more. Okay, sure. Fire Burst. Let's take a look at this. This is from the Essence of Hysteria? I forget which one. Let's see. Cooldown of 1.5 seconds, previously 1 second. Woof. Now deals 1696. So pretty big buff and a little bit less added damage. Okay. So it's probably, I don't know if it's better overall. That 1.5 second cooldown, that kind of hurts. That kind of hurts. Okay. Not super interested in all that. That was kind of boring. So let's take a look at our bow attacks. Hit-based bow attacks require an unreasonable amount of investment to reach competitive levels of damage. That's so true. That's so true, GGG. Very good. Give bows the same local added elemental damage modifiers as two-handed melee weapons do, which are much stronger than bow-specific modifiers used recently. Improve the damage of bows in general, with some base types getting up to 50% more base damage than before. Improve the mastery options on bow passive clusters. Nice. All right. Make improvements to quivers so that bows can receive much more damage from rare quivers. We have reworked the quiver progression with new quiver types for a more diverse set of useful implicits. We have greatly improved added physical damage modifiers on quivers. We've replaced elemental damage attack with skills mod with increased damage with bow skills. Nice. To allow for physical and chaos damage, yep. We have taken the +1 arrow prefix off influenced and added to the core modifier pool. Okay, that's pretty nice. That's really nice. We've added an extra tier to the attack speed and accuracy modifier. Okay. Is this a big old thing? No. Okay, great. Let's see here. Bows now use two-hand weapon versions of added damage. Quivers, blah, blah, blah. Highest tier mod for increased generic damage is 43 to 50% damage with bow skills. That's pretty good. Essence of Woe gives you tier 1 43 to 50% increased damage. Quivers can now roll bow attacks, fire an additional arrow as a suffix. The influence versions can no longer be rolled. Quivers no longer share the same modifier progression for added fizz as amulets. One of the new highest tiers on modifiers is plus 23 to 39 physical damage. That's a lot. That is a lot. A lot of accuracy. A fair amount of attack speed. Flat chaos damage. Great. New mastery. Increase reductions to arrow speed also applied to damage with bows. That's nice. That's pretty good. Plus 100 to accuracy rating per green socket on your bow. That could be very good. That could kind of solve your accuracy problem right there. 100% increased Mirage Archer duration. So Mirage Archer builds, you guys are in luck. That's awesome for you. 100% increased cooldown recovery for blink and mirror arrow. So for that build, also pretty great. New quiver types. Blazing, flat added fire. These are all implicits, so increased attack speed, gain physical as extra chaos, flat added physical, and increased elemental damage with bows. Cool. Okay, sources of added damage. This could be interesting. Added cold, lightning, and chaos support gems provide significant unconditional added damage that outclasses many weak options, most notably for bow builds. Solution: lower the strength of unconditional added damage support gems and raise the strength of local added damage and added damage to spells on weapons. So basically the added cold, lightning, chaos gems that add a flat amount of damage have all been nerfed a little bit, and the modifiers on your weapons have all been increased by roughly 8% at the highest tier and increased by more at the lower tiers. Cool. For local added damage, for example, the tier 1 is now 165 to 225 to 335 to 390. Wow. Wow. On two-handed weapons for bows. So like the, what is that? The Solarine bow that has a ton of added flat fire. You could do a lot of fire damage with that thing now. Okay. We don't have to go through all that, I don't think. Basically, local modifiers on weapons, including bows, have been buffed, and added flat damage gems have been nerfed. A little. Okay. Okay. That's pretty cool. Skill interactions with Hydrosphere. Certain skills that have a chaining or shockwave effect can multiply their damage against single targets by also hitting Hydrosphere. So true. These skills should not be balanced around using an off-class or off-theme skill like this. Boo! Maintaining the ability to use this interaction will prevent us from improving certain bow skills and hit damage spells without their maximum blah blah blah. Change Hydrosphere to have a 1-second cooldown before it can be hit again. This maintains the ailment mechanic on Hydrosphere to still allow for some special interactions. Yeah, kind of. That kind of works. Grinding gear. It's still going to be a added damage boost for like totem skills or like ballista skills that abuse that in order to chain and hit targets. It'll cut down the damage a little bit. I'm not sure if that'll be super significant for the builds that are really abusing it, but we'll see. Triggering marks. When applied through mark on hit skills or unique items that trigger them, marks are far more efficient for clearing and easier to sustain on boss fights. Builds that don't have access to these high-end items are disadvantaged in comparison. Everybody has access to these. Mark on hit rings are not expensive. Like any ring, the better you want it to be, the more expensive it is anyway. Solution. Make marks permanent so they only require a single cast for boss encounters. Add a new support gem that lets attacks trigger marks on hitting rare and unique targets. Mark curse skills no longer have a duration. Mark on hit trigger when you hit an attack. This support adds a cooldown and a small curse effect penalty, but does not need to be linked to the triggering attack. The Deadeye Focal Ascendancy no longer has marks you inflict are not removed. Instead, it has your mark transfers to another enemy when marked enemy dies. Okay. The influence modifiers that trigger a mark when you hit a rare or unique have been removed from the modifier pool. Okay. I suppose that's fine? Question mark. Kind of sucks. It is fun to be able to have builds that not really abuse it, but make use of marks with those rings while they're mapping too, to get like power charges or endurance charges. So, okay, I'd say that's certainly a nerf, but okay. Fortification gives you a lot of damage reduction. Yes, it does. And fortification generation now ignores the target's damage reduction. Okay, that seems fine. That's good for Fortify. Skill balance. Yeah. Detonate Dead builds can gain significantly more damage by diluting the pool of desecratable monsters with high life specters. Because of how Desecrate selects monsters, the fewer monsters occurring in the area, the more damage it dealt. Solution. Change Desecrate to have a fixed chance to spawn a Spectre Corpse. This means Detonate's Dead damage should be more consistent based on which area in the game you're in. This also means there is no incentive to bring multiple high life Spectre variants. Right. Although you'll still benefit from bringing one high life Spectre. Okay. Yeah, so 15% chance to spawn one of your Spectre's corpses. Okay. Seismic Trap has very high damage scaling as its damage scales with increases to area of effect. Yeah. Far too much damage with the investment cost. Yeah, Seismic traps are pretty amazing. Make modifiers to AoE, apply to the area the trap's burst can target at a ratio. This will slightly improve the area coverage of the skill while lowering the damage growth from increased AoE. Okay, so Seismic Trap. If I can read between the lines here, and I'm just going to see into the future for a moment, Seismic Traps are still amazing. Problem: Toxic Rain has very strong damage over time with a low build cost compared to other bow builds. Yeah, that's true. Reduce the high level damage of Toxic Rain. Specifics, please. Toxic Rain now deals 238 instead of 285 base. Okay. I guess. So that's what, like 20% reduction? Roughly? I don't think that's enough. Another moment of prophecy. Toxic Rain is still fine. Unique item balance. March of the Legion. I don't super care about March of the Legion. I've never really used it. If someone wants to explain in the comments why this is important, then please let me know. Problem: Shade Form from Replica Eternity Shroud, Shroud of Lightless. Could have its duration extended to be longer than its cooldown, granting permanent immunity to physical damage. Change form's cooldown to pause while skill is active. Yeah. Strength of Blood, incorrectly scaled modifiers, allowing it to reach 100% and for characters to be immune to damage. Yeah. No longer scales. Great. Dancing Dervish. Unique item has no accessible way to sustain its mechanic on boss fights. Change. Yeah. Okay, well, we already saw that, didn't we? The minions summoned by Dancing Dervish now use the new channeled version of Cyclone. Their movement speed and AI have also been adjusted to feel more proactive. Great. Dancing Dervish, rejoice. Perfidy's Dread Banner Fortification Duration mod was causing issues. Replace Perfidy's Dread Banner mod. Perfidy no longer has increased fortified duration. Instead, it has Dread Banner grants an additional 2 to 4 maximum fortification when placing the banner. Okay. Void Fletcher outclasses rare quivers for many builds. Yeah, it has for a long time. Review the damage of Void Fletcher arrows. This balance is still being reviewed. Live review later in the week. Okay, so overall, TLDR, TLDW. Toxic Rain is fine. Seismic Traps are fine. Spellcasting stuff yourself, and maybe also traps and totem builds all got major buffed. It's hard to say exactly with the numbers. I'm sure someone on the Reddit is going to go through and crunch the numbers for actual effective damage increase or lowering for all this stuff, but to my dumbass, it looks like all spells or a ton of spells got a major damage buff. And while some of our triggering skills like multiple traps and what else? Multi-traps, let's take a look. Multiple traps. Cast while channeling, intuitive links, spell totem, battle mage's cry, all this stuff has increased less damage multipliers, but the amount of added damage overall to a bunch of these other spells like Storm Call and Freezing Pulse and Fireball especially are massive. So it seems to me like everything just got buffed. Now, this is interesting though. I didn't notice this on my first go around. The Soul Mantle no longer has +1 to maximum number of summoned totems. Existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb and a momentary lapse in judgment. That's funny because that sucks for Soul Mantle. Is Soul Mantle even worth it now? It's hard to say. The Poet's Pen, Cosby's Mouse, and Mjolnir have had their cooldown on triggering spells increased to 0.25 seconds instead of 0.15. Also a nerf. I mean, but all the damage on... Anyway, so the damage on stuff got really increased by a lot, and the way we trigger those spells passively got a little bit nerfed, but not by a whole lot. So it seems to me like bows got buffed and spells got buffed, and spells are already really powerful. So it'd be really interesting to see what grinding gear does exactly with the balance notes, the actual patch notes. That'll be good to see, so we can see some numbers surrounding everything, even though we got a lot of that here. Maybe there's something that they're not telling us about how all of this works together. And oh yeah, Unleash got nerfed too, but again, everything got super buffed for a lot of these. Any of these skills that you see here are all pretty heavily buffed. So what does this mean for us? This means that maybe you can actually play a spellcaster where you cast your own stuff, and because you have a lot of cast speed now too, that's something I didn't mention, a lot of increased cast speed. Oh man, that was a lot. I don't know, it seems to me like everything got buffed, everything in this list. So I guess it's the time of spellcasters, even though it already was. So I don't know, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming this or if I'm just going to record it and throw up recaps onto YouTube. My audio and stream tends to desync a little bit with itself over time, which is really frustrating when I want to play Path of Exile for 7 hours straight. So yeah, it's tricky. We might just stick to YouTube. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this kind of recap here and you're still watching, first, thank you for still watching. Really appreciate that. And if you haven't, it would be really cool if you would like and subscribe. And if you want to leave a comment and tell me what I missed about this, that would also be just fine with me, because I'm sure I missed something that is really important here. I must have. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Upcoming video will be a Uber Elder guide just in time for it to lose relevancy. And with that, this is Eli signing off.